Hello, everyone. This is Keith Stone with the Center for Hellenic Studies, here for another installment of Office Hours with Greg, Nagy, and Janet, and Hélène and Sarah. Good to see you all again. And we're talking about the questions for hours 5 and 6 this time from the Heroes book. And Greg, you made up another set of wonderful questions, which I'm just referring to here.
Thank you.
I'm going to read them both, and then we can talk about various answers from each one. So the hour 5 question. Song 44 of Sappho, as we see from reading the surviving fragments, focuses on the wedding of Hector and Andromache. So many pieces of this beautiful song are unfortunately missing, and it is difficult even for the experts to try and reconstruct the missing pieces. Still, I encourage you here to imagine and discuss what might be the look and feel of the whole song, as if by some good fortune such a text were discovered in its entirety. And hour 6 question. Achilles is clearly worried about sending off Patroclus to fight as his substitute. So, why does he send him off anyway?
No.
Okay, so we were looking at some of the responses of our participants, and one of the things that jumped out to me was that they had picked up on some of the details from some of the other poems, like appearing like as a divinity in a marriage.
Yes.
And that sort of rush of emotion and identifying with the participants in the marriage ritual.
Yes, yes, yes. And if I could follow up on that, not only do we have kleos aphthiton, which means something like a glory of song that is unwilting in Sappho 44 and in Iliad 9, line 413. So here's already a connection, because presumably the kleos aphthiton in Sappho song 44 has to do with Hector and Andromache, or I'll leave it at that. And certainly in Iliad 9, it has to do with Achilles. So here's one very important thing that Achilles on one side, Hector and Andromache on the other side have in common. But then, just as you say, Sarah, there's also the equation of the person who is married to a god, and that at the moment of a wedding, that person is, may I put it this way, the same as a god. And that doesn't mean same absolutely, because there'll be some differences, but the sameness is emphasized over the difference. And if that's so important for the bride and groom in Sappho 44, it's also very important for Achilles, although in Achilles, at least in the Iliad, he gets the epithet equal to the gods, not because, or it doesn't seem that it's because he is a bridegroom or a bridegroom candidate. It's because he's a warrior. But still, there it is. And as all of you know, all four of you know, I've just argued and argued and argued that Achilles is visualized as an ideal bridegroom, even though he's a bridegroom who will never get married, but that makes it even more beautiful and sorrowful. I'll stop there for a while.
I was just noticing someone's idea that perhaps a larger or more complete song would include the words of the song of Hector and Andromache. It says, the very last line that we have, and they sang the song of Hector and Andromache, both looking just like the gods. So this person says, well, what is this song? Maybe we would get that.
Yes. Or maybe everything up to that point was the song. And that can happen in this kind of poetry, that you figure out only at the end that what has happened is actually the song that was sung on an occasion. May I fast forward and and invite people many weeks from now to think of Euripides' Hippolytus, where the first choral song, at first you think, well, it's a song where the attendants of the princess, of the queen, are almost gossiping about her love life and why she's so sad. But then it turns out that it's actually a song of initiation that people really sing at a real female initiation. And so that's going to be, let's see, I'm going to get it right. That's hour 20. So it's a long way away.
So Greg, you were just talking about how there is a choral response. And is that something that we're going to see in, we see to some extent in Sappho and also in Iliad? Is that something we should be looking out for?
I think so. It's so easy for us to imagine everything as a solo performance, and it's so not.
And you have a non-solo performance here in this song. I mean, it's a plural for they sang the song, but
yes.
It's
yes.
like with laments. There's this group in line 31. The older
yes.
women cried out, "Elelu."
That's right, which is as some experts have said, when you see elelu or ololu, that means a signaling of a performance by a group, by an ensemble, by a chorus, which I'll keep saying over and over again is a group of singers and dancers. Yeah.
May I share something? In Turkey, the night before the wedding, we have a henna night, and that is a night where a mother cries and laments for daughter's departure, and daughters also cries, and a group of people sing and then lament for this departure, and this departure is not only physical departure, emotional departure as well, from one house to another house, a transformation, and it happens.
Oh, thank you so much, dear Janet. And that's so important that in the society, as reflected by Sappho 44, and in most Mediterranean societies, such as what you describe in Anatolia, it's a fact that there's exogamy, which means that the bride has to leave her family and be transferred to the family of the bridegroom. That's just a fact of life. And then how that is ritually enacted can involve even images of being torn away from your own family. And of course, especially the mother, but everybody else in the bride's family are sad about it. The bride is sad about it, but there's also, I don't know how to put it, there's also romantic elements. So people are sad, but they're also kind of thrilled at the same time. I say that because I love the fact that when Vladimir Propp, one of the greatest ethnographers of the last century, was investigating weddings in Eastern Europe, in Russia, one of the things he would do is interview old grandmothers who were asked, well, what did it feel like when you were a bride? And they would say, well, it was sad, but also really fun. And so there's this interesting mixture of emotions that you have in ritual context of traditional societies. And as I'll keep saying again and again and again, the older I get, the more I see ritual as something bigger than myth. It's not just the flip side of a coin where you have myth on one side, ritual on the other side. In a sense, both sides of the coin are ritual, although you can say there's one side that's ritual and the other side that's myth plus ritual. How's that? Mm-hmm. I am toying with markedness theory, but I'm not going to talk about markedness theory. I think I said it pretty well. Then one side of the coin, ritual. The other side of the coin, myth plus ritual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It'll have to be no longer called perhaps the myth and ritual school, but the ritual ritual and myth school and the...
Yes.
Well,
whatever. But what you're saying is something that was just bedeviling people, especially towards the end of the 19th century, which is you had to take your pick, myth or ritual, which came first. And then people got over that. You can't say that either one of them came first. But and there was kind of a false equivalency, or no, not equivalency, symmetry. And the symmetry here is one where one element includes the other. So sure, you can still contrast myth and ritual, but ritual still includes myth.
Mm-hmm. One other thing I was thinking about with this song is that, based on what you were saying, Greg, that perhaps this is not the wedding of Hector and Andromache. It's the song about their wedding that is sung at another wedding.
Oh, I love that. Or any wedding.
Or any wedding, right? Any wedding.
Any wedding.
It's the song that's appropriate to a wedding, and so.
Full disclosure, one big problem about this particular song is that, unlike most Sappho songs that have come down to us, this one is from Scroll 2 of Sappho in the old edition of the Alexandria Library. And Scroll 2 has songs that are primarily for solo singing, even if the solo singing replicates or imitates group singing. So go figure. That doesn't really ruin anything. Don't get me wrong, because solo singing can reenact group singing, and group singing is what it's all about here. But just as Homeric poetry is solo singing, although the master storyteller, I like to call him the master narrator, actually quotes speakers, divine and mortal, it's still permeated with choral, that is to say, group situations. But I have to add that little extra something, and the world's greatest expert on the medium of songs attributed to Sappho that are in Scroll 2 of the old edition of Alexandria. His name is Timothy Power, and he's got a brilliant book that is available for free at the Center for Hellenic Studies on the citharos, that is to say, people who sing solo and accompany themselves on a 7-string instrument.
Greg, what you were saying about solo versus group singing reminds me of the biblical psalms that have their origins in communal worship.
Yes.
But have become, in some traditions, a very private, and not even sung, not even spoken, but like a kind of verbal icon for private reflection.
Oh, and I'm so glad you brought up the P word, private, because again, we moderns, when something very intimate is happening in a song, we assume it's private. And it is, but it's also public in ancient Greek song culture and in most Mediterranean song cultures, and in fact in song cultures all over the world. And that's something I didn't fully see. If I trace back my research on Sappho 44, and my first publication on this goes back to 1974, that's a long time. I was too preoccupied then about the intentionality of Sappho as an author, not fully appreciating, I think, how the voice of Sappho, no matter how private it can be, is also at the same time something that is performative in the public, public at large. And so, yes, there is irony in the fact that theoekelos, which means equal to the gods, is so specific to Achilles and the Iliad, and seems to be so specific to Hector and Andromache in Sappho 44, but it's not so much look how ironic that the person who's going to kill Hector and make Andromache a widow, that same person is the bearer of the same theme song, can I say? If you think of modern filmmaking, sometimes when a character appears on the scene, will be associated with a given theme song, and whoa, what's happening here? Both sides are associated with the same theme song. So back when in 1974 and thereabouts, I was thinking that this is a kind of personal poetic touch. Now I see it as something that the song tradition itself has in common for both these fascinating sides of the picture, Hector and Andromache on one side, and Achilles on the other side.
That was a pretty rich vein of discussion there. Do you have anything else for us like that?
I got lots, but I know that time presses. So maybe the four of you guide me a little bit more about what you thought was most arresting or most thinking out of the box among all those beautiful things that the participants sent us by way of thinking. And I so agree with what was said before, that that there are so many other passages in the Iliad that are comparable to what we see in Sappho 44. So shoot anything my way.
Sarah, Janet, Ellen, we got about 5 minutes or so.
Oh my God, only 5 minutes. See, I was getting too rich, I think.
Can we talk about a little bit of Achilles, a question on the Achilles? One of the participants,
Yes.
I think Helen mentioned this before. Can you, Helen?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Achilles is indeed, he hesitates to send Patroclus as his alter ego. Because you know, the Hector has already set on fire one of the boats, so he has to do something. But Achilles is not yet ready to go into the battle, so he sends Patroclus. But one of the participants had mentioned the helmet of Achilles, and she sees it as a prelude, sign of death. And you know. Yeah, I'll let you go.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah. That's yes, and in fact, there's so many preludes, so many forewarnings of things to come, and it's such a delight to pick them up. And I think our participant, when this participant picked up on the idea of a prelude, is really getting connected to the beauties of the ancient Greek song culture, where it must have been very thrilling to pick up on something, maybe for one person, just a few minutes before other people pick up on it. Everybody picks up on everything eventually, because this medium keeps coming at you and saying things in so many ways. But there is a thrill of discovery, isn't there? A pleasure. And if we were just reading the text, it would be, what's that wonderful term, Hélène, le plaisir du texte? The pleasure of the text. Well, here it's the pleasure of the performance that we're trying to reenact in our mind. What would it be like to hear this and to pick up a prelude?
Yes. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that we talked a little bit about that second question, because Achilles is conflicted. Oh my goodness, he's conflicted. Just as he's conflicted in 9. And we talked about that in previous meetings at office hour, where I used to think that Achilles had it all figured out by Iliad line 413 of scroll 9, but no, he hasn't figured it out. He's just saying, that's what my mother tells me. And it turns out to be the right thing, but he doesn't yet put it all together about the choice that he has to make. That'll only come much later. And you know who picked up on that? hello, Plato. Plato sees how Achilles makes his decision later than in Iliad 9. So that's nice.
What you were saying just now, Greg, reminds me of, I realize now it was Kevin McGrath who was saying this recently in an open house that we had.
Yes.
That the warriors, the chariot fighters, chariot driver,
yes,
is the person who first kind of formulates the kleos of the chariot fighter, because he's the witness. He's the only witness to many of his deeds. And so how did he describe it? Kevin said that the chariot driver is like the database of all of the deeds for the chariot fighter. And then, so for Achilles to send Patroclus off into battle, no wonder he hesitates, because if Patroclus, if his memory is gone, how will anyone know?
He's losing his database right there. Absolutely. And it's not just how shall I say, informational database, it's an emotional database as well. So he's going to be stranded. Oh, yes. And something else I like to say, and I've said it in that journal that you edit in one of the posts, and I don't dare say which one because I might have it wrong, but I say that the chariot driver is also not just a designated driver. He takes the hit for the chariot rider in many situations. So there has to be an ethic where the chariot driver is ready to die for the chariot rider. And that's built in not only to Greek traditions, but also to the Indic traditions that our friend Kevin studies. And of course, for Kevin, everything comes together in book 6 of the Mahabharata, the famous Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna, the chariot rider, is getting instructions, including moral instruction, from his charioteer, who's Krishna. And you don't want to have a better database than Krishna, and that's what he gets. Beautiful.
Wonderful. Well, that's about our time, unless there's any other burning issues that we ought to address.
Well, that's a problem. There always are, and so it's like I feel on fire after these office hours. It's like I have to cool off, or I don't know what I have to do. Pour cold water on myself.
Well, I'll let you get to that.
And not spill my coffee.
That's right.
Yes.
Unless it's iced coffee.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Nice talking with you all again and seeing you.
It's such a joy to talk with the 4 of you. Wonderful.
Thanks. Okay. We're signing off for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.